Hello, everyone. My name is James, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the very first episode of Mission Report. This is a Nintendo news show where I sort through different articles from various sources and then tell you what I think is worth knowing. I've got 5 different things to talk about today, and this first story comes from the Nintendo Today mobile app. This one's not really a story. This one more so just an announcement from Nintendo, and then I want to kind of speculate on it a little bit. So they put out this Happy New Year from Nintendo post where it had like 2026 themed artwork from different series. And the series that were featured were Super Mario, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby, Fire Emblem Heroes, and Fire Emblem Shadows. And so it was fun. It was cool to see like the different artworks. The Splatoon one was a video, which I thought was interesting, but most of them were just an image. What I find kind of peculiar, can't say that word. What I find strange is that for Donkey Kong, instead of just saying like Donkey Kong, like the Donkey Kong series, they specifically mentioned Donkey Kong Bonanza. And so that kind of makes me wonder if they view because they didn't say like Super Mario Wonder or Super Mario any Galaxy or something. They specifically said Super Mario, which would encompass like everything Super Mario. So do they view Donkey Kong Bonanza as its own like standalone series? Or is it possible that they're feeling like they're kind of like done with Donkey Kong for a little bit, so they're comfortable saying that like Donkey Kong Bonanza is just like their Donkey Kong product for a little while? Or it's also possible that they just wanted to name drop Donkey Kong Bonanza and that because it's, 5 months old. So that's a possibility as well. Another thing that I thought was a little bit strange was that there were 2 Fire Emblem ones, Fire Emblem Heroes and Fire Emblem Shadows. I'm not going to pretend to be super familiar with Fire Emblem, but I think that those are 2 different games. So I think that that's pretty indicative of how much they value Fire Emblem. And I think it can also kind of tell us what they are kind of expecting to lean into moving forward. And then I know there are also new Fire Emblem games coming out as well soon. Sorry, my dog was making a weird noise. And then finally, with this Happy New Year from Nintendo stuff, there were 3 series that didn't have an appearance that I thought were a little bit strange. The most obvious one, I think, is that there was no Zelda. No Legend of Zelda, nothing, not even like Link standing there with like a thumbs up or anything like that. So that's a little bit strange. I don't think that this is to tell us that they're kind of done with Zelda for a little while, because we already know about the Legend of Zelda movie that's going to be coming out later this year. So I'm curious as to why I'm a little bit curious as to why they chose to not include Zelda. The next one, which actually might even be a little bit stranger, is that there was no Metroid, which you'd think that they would want to plug Metroid right now, especially on the heels of Metroid Prime 4. But if you ask me, that could be just because, the Metroid team has been busy, making Metroid. But it could also just be that they view Metroid as like a very like niche or more hardcore product, or even maybe like a more mature product. And that they wouldn't really consider this post to be for their more like mature audiences. Which I guess you could say that about Zelda as well. And then the final game that I would have liked to have seen in there is just Pikmin. But I completely understand why they wouldn't have included that one. And it's mostly because nobody likes Pikmin but me. So, there's that. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Sorry, I interrupted someone's nap. All right. Next up, also in the Nintendo Today app, Nintendo posted a little teaser for the Pokemon 30th anniversary, and it's basically like a short video of Fat Pikachu playing around with a Pokeball, and then at the end of the video, the date shows up on screen, and it just says February 26, 2026. I think it's pretty safe to expect that we're going to get some kind of Pokemon Presents or Pokemon Direct or something like that. And I think this should be a pretty big one, right? 30 years of Pokemon is a very long time. If it were up to me, they would celebrate the 30th anniversary by like bringing forward some of the Game Boy Advance or the DS games that I've never been able to play. But realistically, I'm really not going to expect very much from them because it seems like every single year on Pokemon Day, they have a whole lot of stuff to say, but not really anything that I care about, unfortunately. Let's move on. This next one comes actually from the news app on Nintendo Switch. And it says that there's going to be basically an Animal Crossing themed event in Tetris 99. So, from the post, it says, "Welcome back, neighbor. Some friendly, familiar faces are popping up in the Tetris 99 51st Maximus Cup online event. Nintendo Switch Online members will have the opportunity to earn an in-game theme inspired by the updated content in the Animal Crossing's New Horizon game. During the event, collect 100 event points by playing matches in Tetris 99 to unlock the in-game theme. The event will be January 8th at 11 p.m. through January 12th at 11 p.m. And then you can learn more on Nintendo's website. As always, they're very clear and it's kind of clunky language. I'd like to think that's kind of like a translation thing. And then at the end of the post, they want to remind you that the Animal Crossing's that Animal Crossing New Horizons will receive a brand new update on January 15th. So this one I think is a little bit interesting. I've always been a little bit fascinated by Tetris 99, not in that I want to check it out because I have played it and it's incredible, but I feel like there are so many in-game events in Tetris 99, but I never see anybody talking about Tetris 99. And so I kind of wonder if maybe Tetris 99 is like way bigger than people think it is. Or maybe like doing an event in there is so easy that they just want to like do it for everything. But I find that to be pretty interesting. And if you've never checked out Tetris 99, you should check it out. I used to play it pretty regularly, and then everybody that played it online got really good, and I stopped winning, and so I don't play it as much anymore. But let's move on. All right. Up next, the UK sales charts have come out for, I don't know if they're weekly or monthly or what, but some UK sales charts have come out, and the headline was about Metroid Prime 4 and how it relates in there, but obviously Mario Kart was in there as well. Anyway, this comes from Nintendo Life. All right. Mario Kart World maintains the silver medal, while Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still manages to keep itself in the top 10. Ellipses. Further down the list, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond has landed at number 39. Customers are heavily prioritizing the Switch 2 for this one, and it notes that 80% of them bought it on Switch 2, and 20% bought it on the regular Switch. So it's perhaps reasonable to assume that the game will have a pretty lengthy lifespan, end quote. And so, yeah, I would agree with that. I also think that 80% buying it on Switch 2 and 20% on Switch could tell us that Metroid is a series that's more so for the like hardcore Nintendo fans, and a lot of your hardcore Nintendo fans are already going to have a Switch 2. There's also, I don't really know how they counted it, the Switch 2 and the regular Switch sales, but buying it physically, anybody I know that has a Switch 1 that's interested in playing Metroid Prime 4, I've been telling them to go ahead and get the Switch 2 version, because the Switch 2 version will actually play on Switch 1, because on the cartridge, it's the Switch 1 version of the game, and then it has a digital code on the cartridge to upgrade it to the Switch 2 version. So if you think you'll ever get a Switch 2 version, if you think you'll ever get a Switch 2, you might as well get the Switch 2 version. But I also don't really know how many people are going to be that informed when making a decision like that. I feel like that's less likely the cause. As far as that top 40 list goes, there were some other notable Nintendo games on there too. Mario Kart World at number 2, Pokemon Legends ZA at number 6, Mario Kart 8 at number 7, Nintendo Switch Nintendo Switch Sports at number 12, Donkey Kong Bonanza at number 13, Super Mario Party Jamboree at number 15, Animal Crossing at 17, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 at 21, Super Mario Bros. Wonder at number 25, Hogwarts Legacy at 28, and then Crash Bandicoot Trilogy at 37. And a couple of those are not Nintendo games. I'll talk about why I included those here in a second. But going through that list, let's see. Mario Kart is to be expected, being... I think most people that are getting a Switch 2 are getting that Mario Kart bundle anyway. Mario Kart... I do think it's interesting that Pokemon Legends ZA is so much higher than like Mario Party Jamboree or Animal Crossing or Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think that just speaks to the power of Pokemon. I also think it's interesting that it says in there that it's pretty evenly split on Pokemon Legends ZA between Switch 1 and Switch 2. It's about 50-50 on where people are buying and playing that. So that doesn't really seem like that would be one like driving people to the new system. Mario Kart 8 is interesting. It's still in there. Let's see. Nintendo Switch Sports being at number 12 above Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think is pretty interesting. But I feel like Nintendo Switch Sports is a very obvious, like, grandma's getting you a game for Christmas. This is it. That screams Christmas game to me. Not to mention that there's like tons of Switches out there and not a whole lot of Switch 2s, which is the only way to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. Let's see. Super Mario Party Jamboree at number 15. This one was notable because only 30% of the people were getting it on Switch 2, which means that more than 70% of the people were getting it on Switch 1, or they have a Switch 2 and are just getting the Switch 1 version because they don't care about the Switch 2 upgrades. What else do we want to talk about? Oh yeah, and then Hogwarts Legacy and then the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. Both of those are multi-platform games. I chose Hogwarts Legacy because it said that 65% of the game, or 65% was in Switch 1 and Switch 2, which means that only 35% was split between PS4, PS5, and Xbox. which I think is interesting. I didn't really expect for Nintendo to kind of dominate the market there. It's also worth noting that the Switch 1 version, I think the split between Switch 1 and Switch 2 is 44% and 22%, which really, I think, just kind of shows that people don't really care about power and how games look. They just want to have fun. And then the Crash Bandicoot trilogy at number 37 was interesting because it said that 99% of the people bought them on Switch 1, and then 1% of the people got it on PS4, and it didn't have Xbox listed on there at all, but I think that's pretty normal for the UK charts to not include Xbox. All right, and then our final story comes from Nintendo on Twitter. All right, so at Nintendo of America, it says, redeem your My Nintendo Platinum points to collect custom icons from Animal Crossing New Horizons. Available until February 2nd at 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch. Icon elements will be refreshed each week. And that's it from Nintendo. First off, the main thing I noticed about this tweet is that this reads way more naturally than some of the like blog posts and stuff that we read earlier, specifically that Tetris 99 one that they were calling it Animal Crossing New Horizons game or whatever. So that's kind of interesting. I'm personally not super familiar with how platinum points work and what exactly they do or can do for you. And I don't think this icon from Animal Crossing is going to be the thing to make me go and check them out. So that's it. That's all I got for today, guys. In the comment section to this video, please let me know if you think there's any news stuff that I missed and what you think about these things that I went over today. Until next time, the best way to keep up with me is right here on YouTube and on Instagram at James_Solar. Thanks, guys.